Hey guys, welcome to Bar Z. My name's Stan, and today I thought I'd show you, how we wind heating coils. Now this is a nickel chromium element and Canthol material. All right, and that's believe it or not, this piece of wire right here is 44 feet long, and we coiled it up, and we had a bunch of them to do. So I'm going to show you how I do it, and I'm going to go on the board right here, and pardon my arm. And we're going to make a simple lathe mandrel that sits on the lathe. And I'm going to find a pin that works. There we go. So we got a mandrel here, and then right off of there we have a piece of tubing coming off. And then our wire actually comes right down that tube and just coils around that mandrel. All right, so we want our tubing just above the diameter of our mandrel. And the way it works out with these coils right here, a 3/8 mandrel or a 3/8 rod will, after the diameter of the wire and after the spring back, because it does spring back after it's done, I come in right at a 1/2 inch. I'm within about 4 thousandths of being a 1/2 inch OD. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. But I already wound all those. These are 4,000 watt elements. These are for the new 1200s. But I do have all these over here that I haven't wound yet. So I thought I'd bring you along for the ride and show you how I do it. Now, these are already cut to length, and they're marked because there's different values here. That's there's 1800 watt there. Yeah, it's an 1800. Those are for duplexes. And see, there's a 2K. These are all 2Ks here. Those are just for regular hot shots. So these are all these here are 2000 watt elements. So what I do is I start just by cutting all my wire. And you can see down there on the floor all those blue marks. Those are all my lengths. And I just spool them out and cut them off. And I've even gone through and marked all my voltage, wire gauge, and my wattage, so as a reminder of which wire to cut to which line. All right, but let's get over on the lathe and I'll show you how I wind this. This is not to say you can't do it by hand. You could wind these by hand, but trust me, it's a lot of work. This is a real heavy 16 gauge wire, and it's nickel, so it's got a mind of its own, and I'm going to show you how we wind it up. Okay, welcome to my element winder, also known as my lathe. Let me show you the mandrel that I use and the pieces that I put in it. Like I said, I've just got a simple 3/8 rod here, but I have one small cross-drilled hole right at the end of it. And what I put in there is a hairpin clip, and that's going to become important later. At first, it really doesn't matter, but I'm going to show you why it's important later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my mandrel in the lathe, and I'm going to put that pinhole right next to the collet, facing straight up where I can see it. I'm going to lock my collet, and I'm going to drop in my steady rest here. You can use the tailstock if you've got a big enough bed. This bed on this lathe isn't really big enough to run everything through. I want you to set your carriage feed to exactly the same diameter as the wire. So measure your wire very carefully. Set the carriage feed to exactly what the wire diameter is. That way you don't have a big helix on there. It's a nice tight wind, and it saves space that way too. So what we've got here we've got an 1800 watt element, 1.8K, 16 gauge. And we're just going to take this wire and feed it through a little tool here, which is a boring bar holder with a piece of tubing going through it. That's a piece of stainless steel tubing. So pretty simple, no special tooling, just that piece of tubing you need to cut. And we're going to feed it through the tube. And you see it passed straight over that rod there. And we're going to come out 6 inches I'm just going to bend a real gentle U-turn on there. I'm going to take my hairpin and put it down in the hole, and maybe I'll zoom in on that to let you see how that's captured. I don't think you can probably see what I did there. No, you can't. Let me get you over here. I'm going to grab the whole tripod and show you what I did there. Okay. And the rest of this wire, we just kind of just give it a gentle loop around there so it doesn't come around and smack anything as we're turning. We're not turning this fast. We're in back gears and we're going to turn it real slow. All right. So we've got our feet engaged already and we're ready to start. And with it over the top, we are running the machine backwards. So let's get this fired up. And I might fast forward through this because it's kind of boring. Coming up on the end of it right here, and my tubing's already cut to the right length, so that's my lead for my my connections. All right, so that's done there. I'll pull you over here and show you what we got. All right, so we're coiled from here all the way to our hairpin here, and it's just a nice tight coil the whole way, but there's a lot of pressure on it still. I'm gonna grab it right here and release the collet, and then when I release here, this thing's gonna unwind. And now's the important part. See, now if this was a solid pin, we wouldn't have any way to get that off of there. So we're gonna pull that pin out, and we're gonna release our steady rest. And all we do is just pull this rod straight out. And that is what you're left with. A very simple, very tightly wound coil. And it's just lather, rinse, repeat. I got a bunch of these to make up, but I thought I get a lot of questions in my email box about how do you wind your coils? Do you just do it by hand or on a wooden dowel? Well, yes, you could, but why would you do that if you got a lathe already in the shop? That would be silly. So this is the fastest, simplest way I could come up with to wind coils. I can do all the coils for a full batch of hot shots. In this case, I got 40 ovens. I can do it in about 4 hours. Okay, well, we got our 2,000 watt coil, and that's a 2K right there. So this is for a 360. So it's a shorty. But we've got our leads on the end, and we need to address the leads on the end because this whole section of NiChrome wire is going to heat. This is where it passes through the insulation, comes out of the bulkhead, and connects to a wiring connector where we can go off to the wiring, off to the rest of the box. So we want to prevent this section of wire from heating like the rest of the coil. So what do? You take another wire, which are just scraps from your coils, and we lay it next to it and we twist it on. I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to use soft jaws so we don't damage the wire or crush the wire in any way. These are aluminum jaws. You could use copper as well. And we're going to be spinning this clockwise as so. And then we're going to use, a lot of you aircraft mechanics are going to recognize these. These are safety wire pliers, and we're just going to clamp up top and fasten it, and then give it a couple of spins after I actually lock the pliers. There we go. And this is what you're left with here. That's double wound very tightly, and this will not heat. And when you know these are made about an inch long, so when you nib off the end and cut the end, this is where you make your connection into the connector block. So that section of wire won't heat, and we can get the current into the oven without heating up the bulkhead. Okay, and then next up is just lather, rinse, repeat over on the other side. Same thing. This is just a whole positive, negative thing. Don't get so negative with me. Again with our safety wire pliers. I'm just giving it about two and a half pulls. And that's both ends of the element there. Okay, this is ready to stretch out to the proper length and install in an oven. I've got marks on the bench. You just clamp one end into the jaws as so, and pull on the element until it stretches out and is of the proper length. All right, but that's how you work with nickel chromium wire and make your own heating elements.